But this is Russ Randall. I am calling the meeting to order at 12:09. I would welcome everyone to today's meeting of the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living. I am Russ Randall. I'm the chair of the commission. Our commission serves the disabled community of Flagstaff by working to expand educational and opportunities, by improving access to housing and public buildings and transportation, by increasing participation in recreational, social, and cultural activities, and by expanding and strengthening rehabilitative programs and facilities. And I would welcome you all here today. Stacy, would you go ahead and take the roll for us?
Certainly. Chair Randall.
I am here.
Vice Chair Simakunda. Commissioner Becker.
Present.
Commissioner Dorman.
I am here.
Commissioner Eisenberg. Commissioner Purrington.
I'm here.
Terrific. And I expect hopefully Michelle will join us in a moment.
And Commissioner Simakunda is also at the interviews for the potential police chief, so she will not be here today. At this point, all commissioners should have their microphones on mute to keep the background noise out of the chat room. The chair of the meeting will ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak if they would like. Commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair that they would like to make a statement, and the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order in which they appear in the chat. In the interest of accessibility for all, please turn on your cameras when speaking. And also, Stacy, I would ask if you could turn on the captioning for our meeting. And on our agenda, we do have next up is our board training and commission training. Do we have City Clerk Stacy Salzberg here yet?
Russ, we do.
There you are.
Yes. Hello. I apologize for my late entry. I too am participating in our police chief interviews. So yes, if you are good, Chair, I'm happy to get started.
Please do. Please do.
Okay.
Good lunch.
Awesome. And because I am involved in these processes today, I will have to exit at 5 to the hour. So I should have plenty of time to go through my presentation, but just be aware that I will have to step out. Okay, can you guys see my screen all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, except for I'm not able to see it. Hang on a moment for me, please. Apologies. Let's try one more time here. Bear with me. I'm so sorry. I'm having some technical challenges. Okay, here we go. For those that may not know me, I know I've been attending a number of your meetings recently, but my name is Stacy Salzberg. I am the Director of Communication and Civic Engagement for the city, and I also serve as the city clerk. So part of my goal today is to just spend a little bit of time discussing the role and function of the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living. We've had quite a few new members join this commission, so we felt it would be a good time to kind of revisit some of the basic things that many of you hear as part of our regular training that we provide to new commissioners, but to just give an opportunity to have a more one-on-one discussion, if you will. So if I can get there we go. So I'm going to be covering today the Commission's directive, recommendations to the City Council, meeting management, staff resources, and working groups. I have tried to build in enough time within this presentation to allow for questions and answers, so please don't hesitate to jump in if you've got any questions or need some clarification. I am not able to see the chat or hands, so if somebody can kind of keep an eye on those if anything comes up that I need to address. So the City of Flagstaff has 26 different commissions, and the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living is one of them. These commissions are all established by the City Council for the general purpose of increased public input and participation in the review and recommendation of city policies and procedures. When these commissions were each established, the commission was assigned a scope of work or a directive that defines their overall purpose and what the council would expect from them in their work as a commission. This expectation or directive is established and set within our city code, and it is adopted by ordinance of the council. So generally speaking, commissions are an advisory body to the city council. And with very few exceptions, there is no policy-making authority for commissions. Commissions are expected to advance recommendations to the City Council as they relate to the directives that are assigned to them as the commission. And then the City Council will look to commissions to provide input on specific projects. So oftentimes when we've got big projects coming through our city as a whole, Council will direct the staff members that are working on those projects to seek feedback from the variety of commissions that we have within the city organization. And so this is why you will often see other members of staff coming to the commission to talk with you about things like the regional plan, engineering standards, traffic projects. While there is often a direct connection between these projects and the work of this commission specifically or other commissions, sometimes you might see things that maybe aren't so aligned with your overall mission, but this is because the council sees commissions as an opportunity to reach a broader range of community members. And so they will ask staff to engage with them to get feedback on particular things that are happening throughout the city. So like I said, commissions are assigned a directive, and these are established by ordinance. So for the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living, the council identified 5 main directives for this particular commission. And these are, like I said, set out and codified within our city code. So those 5 directives are listed here. I am going to refrain from reading all 5 of these, but essentially this commission is charged with looking at compliance with ADA, with the Arizona Disabilities Act. You're overseeing programs and activities to make sure that there's equitable access to others within our community. We talked also about recommendations to the City Council as far as, what policies do we need to perhaps consider within the city organization and our community as a whole to meet the needs of those with adaptive living challenges. This commission also provides a good public forum to discuss issues that folks might be experiencing in the community and ways that we might be able to bring forward those recommendations, and then also to provide recognition to those in the community who work really hard to further awareness of our disabled communities and the challenges that they experience and how we are bringing attention to those challenges and trying to find solutions. So through the course of normal commission business, again, because you are an advisory board to the council, you would be formulating recommendations to go to the city council. All of the recommendations that are forwarded to city council should be formalized and voted on by the commission as a whole. And this is to ensure that everybody, has come to that consensus as to what is ultimately being brought forward to the council for consideration. The staff liaison that is assigned to your commission. So we're actually going to be seeing a shift in our staff liaison assignment for this commission, and I will let others speak to that later on in the agenda. But the staff liaison has a process that they go through to ensure that all recommendations are forwarded in a uniform manner to our city council. And part of that includes, reaching out to our city administration to make sure that they are aware of the recommendations that are being brought forward. And what this allows is a good avenue then for council to request additional information or perhaps a formal presentation. And so when I say city administration, I'm talking about our city manager and our deputy city managers. And the council works through those individuals when they are seeking additional information, or if they want a presentation, or if they want to see things added to the agenda or something added to somebody's work program. All of that funnels through our city administration. And so when we bring forward recommendations to the city council, we want to make sure that our administration is aware of those. So when those follow-up questions or requests for additional information are coming from our council members, our administration is aware of them and they can be anticipating what might need to happen. Additionally, sometimes our city administration will see things come out of our commissions that go, oh, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. And in some ways, not all of those would have to require a council intervention, right, to move forward with something. So this process really just makes sure that everybody is aware of what is going on, what's being requested, what's out there being discussed, and it provides a multitude of avenues for whether it's the council or our administrative team to be able to move on those recommendations as they see fit. What's also important to point out, though, is that not all recommendations are formally acted upon. City council will always receive those recommendations. They will consider them, but there is not always a formal position that they might take or a formal policy change that they might bring forward. And I think it's important for commissions to understand this, and this is a conversation that we have with all commissions across the board, because we recognize the amount of work that goes into review, research, formulating recommendations, suggestions on policy, and we want to recognize that those efforts, but that is also coupled with it really requires the city council to advance something forward. And that doesn't always happen that way. That doesn't mean that those recommendations are not appreciated or considered. It just means that they may take it under consideration at a later time or incorporate it into their policy-making decisions later on, just not in a very formal, in a formal response to a particular recommendation brought forward. So moving into our meeting management, the commission agenda sets all of the discussion and actions for the meeting. You guys are very aware of agendas that come out. We've got pretty specific requirements in terms of posting and distributing those agendas, but really the purpose of that is to tell us all exactly what's being discussed, what action we're being asked to take, and then the public is also aware of what will be happening during the meetings. I know we sound like a broken record oftentimes, but if something is not on the agenda, it cannot be discussed. So it's important that we work with our staff liaison, the chairperson, other commissioners to be sure that we are agendizing the things that you guys want to discuss and to be prepared to allow that discussion to occur. We also provide the guidance or encourage commissions to stick to topics that are really within their assigned directive from the council. And so for a great example, it may not be appropriate for the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living to have a conversation about additions to or feedback on grant recipients from the Sustainability Commission, right? So we're trying to really make sure that we are staying in our lane, as it might be said, for our particular commission. Like I mentioned, we have 26 different commissions throughout the entire organization. And so you can imagine where a lot of that specific focus can already be directed. And so we don't want to duplicate efforts either. And so I think it's helpful to just remember what is our purpose and what should we be discussing and what types of things should we be formulating in terms of recommendations to our council. But that's not to say that those things can't be discussed. It's just we need to be cognizant of that as we build our agendas for each of our meetings. Additionally, we want to make sure that ample time is provided for each topic to be discussed and considered. There are a lot of great things that are going on within the city, within this commission, and we definitely want to have an opportunity to talk about those things and what we've experienced and how we want to bring things forward. But we want to make sure that there's proper time given. And so what you're going to find, I think, from your staff liaison is as we are building your agendas out, we might be encouraging that items be prioritized, or maybe we hold items for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, just so that we can make sure that what is included on your agenda for that meeting has all the time that it needs to be able to be thoroughly covered, and for everybody to have input on that information. The other part of this is also that many times we'll bring in other city staff members, right, to give presentations, to share their expertise, to talk about their programs, seek feedback from the commission. And we want to make sure that when we schedule them to come in, they have the time necessary within their schedules to be able to present and get the feedback that they need. And so it's really a time management situation. And so we just want to be really aware of how we build our agendas out and seek that discussion and commentary in a really thoughtful way. So we'll talk a little bit about agenda setting in just a moment, but any commissioner that has an agenda item that they would like to request, you can do so during the meeting. I think I didn't get a chance to look directly at your agenda, but I think there's like a to from period that allows commissioners to kind of share information. But they could request, hey, I'd like to have a discussion on this particular item. Can we try to work it into a future agenda? The chair also will set the work with the staff liaison to set the agenda for upcoming meetings. And then, of course, the staff liaison is kind of the conduit between other city staff members or perhaps projects that are going on, or they've received some direction from council on stuff that needs to come forward. And so it's kind of a group effort. But wanted to make sure that we all know that as a commission member, all of you have the ability to, request additional information or a presentation at some time. All right, so again, a lot of this might be just a bit repetitive, but I think it's important to make sure that we just touch on it. And again, kind of going back to the basics, we can't have a meeting unless we have a quorum of the commission. And a quorum is simply a majority of the members. And so for this commission, as a 7 commission member, as a commission of 7, your quorum is 4 commissioners. So we need to have 4 people here in order to have a meeting. If you do not have a quorum, you cannot have a meeting. One of the biggest questions that I get is, okay, well, we don't have a quorum, but could we still get this presentation from Sally from this organization, to the people that are here? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Even if it's just a presentation with no formal voting or action being taken, if there's not 4 commissioners present, then there cannot be a meeting. Another common question that I get across the board in terms of commission activity and the work that commissions do is, when is a formal action needed and when is it not? So generally speaking, I had some good notes here. Formal action or voting is needed for formal recommendations that are forwarded to our city council or perhaps city administration. You will want a formal action when approving your minutes, or perhaps there's a formal statement that this commission wants to give on a particular topic. that all would need to be approved by a motion and a vote. There's not a whole lot that commissions do that require that formal action, but those are kind of the high pieces that would require a motion and a vote. Where you don't need to have actual voting would be on discussion items. So if you're talking about a recent conversation we had was the Snow Heroes program. We're kind of talking about that, what that looks like. Here are some ideas that we might have to strengthen that program. What can we maybe put together to share with city staff? Those are all discussions that don't need a formal action to happen. Now, once you formulate a recommendation that you want to send forward, that would then trigger that need for a vote. Any reports that you might receive or updates, whether that's from outside community partners or other commissions, city staff, those are all informational dialogue, and no official voting is required. The other thing that often will generate a little bit of confusion is when members of staff come to a commission to provide you some information or a presentation on a project, and they're seeking feedback from commissions to share with City Council. There doesn't necessarily need to be a formal motion and vote for that feedback, right? So when we have somebody here that's talking about, the Butler Fourth Roundabout, and we're having a dialogue as a commission, and that staff person is taking notes as to what they're hearing from the commission members. And so we don't need an official vote to go forward with that. It's more of just a dialogue, and staff is equipped to take that feedback and share that with the council. They're not asking for a formal recommendation to be presented to the council. They do that more informally through their process. So also part of our meeting management is our overall decorum. So every year, the commission determines a chairperson and a vice chairperson. And the primary role of the chairperson is to preside over your meetings. They also serve as kind of the point person for the commission. So if there was ever a need to communicate with media, perhaps with a council member, oftentimes that's done through your chairperson. That's not an across-the-board determination, but that's generally the purpose of designating a chairperson. And then, of course, the vice chairperson would serve in that capacity should the chairperson not be available. But going back to kind of the presiding over the commission meetings, and Russ is a great example. He's been doing this for a long time. I know he's been involved in this commission, so he has figured out how to run a good commission meeting. But he, in his role as the chair, he introduces each item. He calls the meeting to order. He makes sure that good discussions are occurring. That all commissioners have an opportunity to speak, to provide input, and so it's really the management of each agenda item from start to finish, and making sure that there's good, robust conversation, and that the outcomes of that conversation are what is needed, right, for whatever's going back out, what's being reported out. So again, going back to the example of a staff member coming in to talk about a project, the chair will make sure that good conversation happens, and then they'll summarize any feedback that they've heard, or any particular majority direction. And then they'll just make sure that person that is giving that presentation, do you have what you need? Do you need anything further from us? And then we'll move on with the agenda as it goes. So it's just making sure that things flow well, that we're hitting the points that we need to hit, and that the meeting keeps moving along. So the chairperson is also responsible for assisting with the setting of each agenda. So in partnership with the staff liaison, the agenda is determined with the chair, and that's based on requests from commissioners. So if there's topics that need to come forward that a commissioner is aware of, or they want to have a particular presentation, those are put into the queue along with anything that the staff liaison might have become aware of. So, hey, we've got our regional planning process coming up. We've got somebody that would like to schedule some time to come in and talk with the commission. When would be a good time to do that? And so it's a collaboration on what those agendas are going to look like moving forward. Something that's important, especially in the virtual world that we are operating in, and in fact, most of our commissions are operating in, is that we need to be really careful about refraining from interrupting or speaking over each other. I sit in virtual meetings all day long, and I can't tell you how many times there's somebody starts to speak and then somebody else, and it's like, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead. It's, again, in the virtual world that we're in right now, this happens a lot, but that's where things like raising your hand or using the chat function to be able to kind of like, hey, I have a comment when appropriate, is really helpful. Again, these are all things that we know. These are all things that I think we generally abide by, but it's always just good practice to revisit some of these things. Especially for new commissioners that maybe are in this world, in this new world, if you will. All right, so I've talked a lot about our staff already, but we have a lot of resources that are available to commissions from the staff perspective. So each commission, like I said, is assigned a staff liaison, and the staff liaison's role is to facilitate operation and effectiveness of the commission. So we are here to help you get an agenda put together, make sure that agenda gets posted and distributed as is required. They help with meeting minutes. They help with setting your agendas. They're also there to make sure that we're not out of compliance with open meeting law. If we're starting to talk about something that maybe isn't on the agenda, that's when your staff liaison might speak up and say, hey, we're veering off topic here. We really need to bring it back to the items that are on the agenda. But their role is to really make sure that your commission is staying in its lane and that we're abiding by all of the rules as set out in law. The staff liaison also coordinates with other staff members, and I've talked through that exhaustively, but they will also coordinate with other commissions, or perhaps the city council reaches out to them directly and says, hey, we'd really like some feedback on this particular piece, or this commission has got this project coming up and we'd really like to partner with the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living on this effort. And so they're that in-between person. They're the ones that make sure that things get connected appropriately. They work on scheduling to make sure that everybody that needs to coordinate is able to do so. And then your staff liaison also just acts as that general resource for city operations. They're the ones that know who to talk to, perhaps what the history on some things are, and they're there to help you fill in those gaps if necessary. So other city staff members will provide, on occasion, technical and expert information on their particular area of expertise or specific projects, and they will reach out to commissions when directed to do so by council. We've seen a lot of this. There's been a lot of coordination lately with this commission and city staff members for very good reasons, because there's a lot of crossover with what the commission is working on, what projects the city is working on, and kind of how to complement those together. It's also really important to just remind commissions that there's not the ability to direct staff or staff operations. Commissions don't have any sort of policy setting or policy changing authority. Again, as an advisory board to the council, they can provide recommendations. So if you're seeing things that you would like to see perhaps considered as a change to staff operations or policy operations, it's best to work through a formal recommendation, whether that's to city council or our city administration, because they're the ones that have the authority to change work programs or different policies that might affect staff directly. Staff have a very defined work program that spans the that varies widely, let me put it that way. And commission involvement or oversight is one small piece of their overall work program. And so we want to be really cognizant of the fact that they dedicate their time to commission operations and management of a commission, but there are a lot of other things that they have to do as well. So it's just, those are just things to keep in mind as we look to how things or how we interact with our staff members. So this goes not only for your staff liaison, but all other staff members throughout the city. One of the things that we have asked is that if you would like to get information from other city staff members on their programs, operations, we ask that you try to do that and coordinate through your staff liaison. And there's a couple reasons for this. We want to be, we want to be respectful of staff members' times. And it could be really difficult if that particular staff member is getting hit with questions or emails from 3 different commission members. They might be the same types of questions, but they're coming from 3 different people. And so when you work through the staff liaison, it allows us to look at, okay, what kind of questions are you asking? What kind of information do you need? Is this maybe more appropriate for a formal commission meeting presentation? Or are these just some one-off questions that are easy enough to solicit from other staff members and will help just inform further discussion in a commission meeting? So it provides a single point of contact, not only for you as commission members, but also for the staff member that's receiving those questions or that information request. Having one person to work through ensures that everybody on the commission will get the information that is shared. When we do this for our city council as well, when we have one council member that reaches out to a staff member and says, hey, I have questions about this agenda item. Can you kind of go through these few things? The staff member will put that all together and then share that information with the entirety of the council. The same goes for commission members. We really want to avoid 1 or 2 commissioners reaching out to a staff member directly, receiving a lot of information from them, which is great. But then we have a handful of other commissioners that are not included in that information sharing. And so when they get to a meeting and they're talking about different things that are happening, we like to have everybody have the same information and working from the same platform to be able to formulate a good discussion and possible recommendations going forward. So again, trying to avoid duplicative contact, duplicative questions, and really just making sure that everybody is fully informed of what's being shared and when. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about working groups, because I know that this commission has a working group. Working groups are a good way to solicit or to spend a little bit more time diving in deep to a particular issue. What's important to remember with working groups is they are designed to be short term, and they are designed to be created for a very specific purpose. So you don't see long-term working groups. You see something that, okay, we have a working group. We want you to research this, and we want you to come back to the commission with some recommendations on how we might move forward with a formal recommendation to city council or city administration. Once that exercise has concluded, that working group should dissolve. A working group, again, very specific purpose, and those members of a working group should be appointed by the commission as a whole. So this could involve citizens. In fact, it's a great way to bring citizens who are very engaged with your commission or want to have more involvement. Working group is a great way to provide them with that involvement. So those citizens can be defined, identified, and appointed. And then, of course, we can't have any more than 3 commissioners that serve on a working group because of open meeting law. The key here, though, is that we have specific members identified. It shouldn't be a ebb and flow of members, if you will. It should be, Tom, Sally, and Jim. Those are our citizen members that have been appointed to this group. And we have, Russ and Keith and Rachel are the 3 commission members that have been assigned to this working group. That's how it should stay. It should not change unless a new working group is formed because the work of that first working group has concluded. I hope I'm explaining that okay. But working groups really cannot act independently of the commission. All they are there to do is a specific task. They bring that task to the commission, they report on that task, and the commission itself then would be the one to act as a whole based on any information that they might receive from the working group. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Again, I wanted to just touch on some really high pieces that I think are helpful for all members of commissions to just have a good reminder of periodically. I am using this particular presentation to solicit similar training to other commissioners or to other commissions, if you will, just as a general a reminder. And I'll be specifically sending some attention to our commissions that we've seen a lot of new members come forward.
Thank you, Stacy. I do see that Commissioner Becker has his hand up.
Great.
Yeah, I would just like to request a copy of the presentation.
I will be happy to do that. I apologize it wasn't included in the packet. I was finalizing some details last night, so I will get that to Stacy and she will distribute that to the group.
And Stacy, I assume this meeting or this training was recorded, yes?
Yes.
Chair Randall, yes, I have been recording this meeting.
Thank you.
And I will send it to the whole commission after this, as well as uploading it.
Perfect. I know Commissioner Simakanda, who cannot be here today because of CIAL business, but she wanted to be part of the training as well. So thank you for that.
You bet.
Commissioners, do we have other questions for Stacy? And I guess I have a question, but I know as the chair, quite often city staff members reach out to me. So then I respond to the city staff member. Is that kind of a no-no or?
No, if city staff is reaching out to you directly, that is fine. Because they typically, we provide all of our city employees access to our rosters for our boards and commissions. So it is not unusual for them to reach out with maybe specific questions for you, but that might also start to facilitate some, hey, I'd really like to come and be a part of your group and present on this, or what issues are you experiencing? And then you guys can connect with your staff liaison to bring forward any additional things that need to come to the commission as a whole. And that goes for any commissioner as well. City staff has those resources to reach out to people directly. Yeah, and that's okay.
And and just to be completely transparent, I do kind of struggle a little bit with open meeting law and not being able to reply all and all that kind of stuff, because I want to be transparent and open, right? And I know we just can't do that. But I also know that years ago, Jeremy DeGuider reached out to me about the designs for the library entrance. And then, I really encouraged him to come to one of our meetings, and he did. And then at the meeting, we actually, as a commission, we presented some of our concerns with what was being planned. And Jeremy listened to our concerns, and I think we now have a beautiful, fully inclusive and accessible entrance to the library, in no small part because Jeremy listened to our concerns. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm glad that there is some capability for interaction between this commission and city staff. And I understand the need for the formality of it too, but Martin Ince reached out to us about things with the urban trail system. And of course, I mean, I connected back with him, and then Martin wrote the grant, and now we have improvements at Buffalo Park. So, but
And those are excellent examples, and you are absolutely correct. And that is a good demonstration of when sometimes city council will be considering different projects, or they're working through a few things, and they're saying to staff, hey, be sure that you're reaching out to our commissions, touch base with them, see if they want to be involved, see if they have input. And so those, I think, are two really great examples where they started, Martin started and Jeremy started to kind of feel their way through, whether this commission would be interested in providing that feedback. And those conversations with you as the chair kind of give them that, okay, now we're going to bring a broader discussion to get a bigger amount of feedback from the commission formally. And so, yeah, it's a great way to reach a larger amount of people. And I will say that I'm proud of our council, this council that we have right now. It's been really neat to see them really focus some attention on reminding staff to engage with our commissions. This is why we've created these commissions. This is why they exist. These things fall within their oversight and their purview. I've seen that more in the last, 4 years or so than I have in the many years that I've been with the city. So it's really neat to be able to see that they are also recognizing the value that commissions bring to these conversations and to these projects that are coming forward, especially with all the stuff that we've got going on right now.
absolutely, and thank you for that, Stacy. I also, as someone who has served on this commission on and off for over a decade, this commission has changed over time as well. And I think maybe our society has changed with regards to how we view disabilities and how we view, what kind of things might be involved in the advocacy for the disabled community of our city. And really that whole perspective has just changed. I know when I came on this commission a dozen years ago, the primary purpose of the commission was to plan the Disability Awareness Banquet. And that was really kind of what the commission did. I mean, it was frustrating because that was a huge undertaking, but that's primarily what the commission did. That's not true of our commission anymore. And I think maybe that's in no small part because society views disabilities and all the things that are encompassed relative to the disabled community. It's just, I think we've created a more inclusive world in a lot of different ways. So, commissioners, do we have other questions for Stacy? Any closing there, Stacy?
I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I will be continuing to kind of peek in on this commission on a regular basis. But again, thanks for allowing me some space to talk with you guys today. And I'm actually going to duck out so I can continue on my police chief search. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Stacy. We appreciate your time too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't believe we have any members of the public here to participate.
Chair Randall, we do not.
Excellent. So I'm not going to read that part though. And then, commissioners, do we have information items that any of you would like to share with us today? I'm not seeing any hands. I do have an information item, as I'm sure some of you are aware of, but March has actually been designated as the National Developmental Disabilities Month. I think that was originally done by President Reagan a long time ago, and just recently, the Coconino County Board of Supervisors has proclaimed March of 2024 as Developmental Disabilities Month for Coconino County. And I would encourage residents to recognize unique contributions made by people with developmental disabilities in our community. So that's what I would kind of share with the commission. Any other shares from the commissioners? Okay, and Sean, thank you for being here too. And I know Mayor Daggett is not going to be able to be here because she's also doing the police interviews. But Sean, do you have anything to share with us today?
I do not, but thank you so much for having me, Chair. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I see Estella Hollander here, our transportation liaison. But I do see Joseph Spence here, who is our youth liaison and also represents the community practice transition team. So Joseph, do you have anything to share with us today?
Mr. Randall, I totally forgot to write some notes. Can you help me out here?
I can a little bit. I know that on April 24th.
Oh yeah, April 24th, we have our employment encounter at Coconino High School. At my former high school, of course.
And I think, and you can correct me, Joseph, I wasn't at yesterday's meeting with the community practice team.
8:45 a.m. to like 12:45 p.m. I think.
It's what time does it start?
8:45 a.m. or 8. I think it's like at 8:45 to 12:45. We're gonna have to double check with Michelle on that, or we can double check with Michelle on that.
And Michelle, you're here too, right?
She might be.
Yes, I am.
And the employment encounter at Coconino is on the 24th, and it starts at 8:45 a.m. Is that right?
It's 8 a.m. to
8
12:45.
a.m. to 12:45. Thank you, Michelle. I just forgot my clock. Yeah.
And I know there are going to be lots of employers there because it's a job fair as well. And I know that there are going to be, I don't know, secondary school or post-secondary schools represented there as well, I think. And vendors like Hojoni and Quality Connections and folks like that are also going to be there. Is that right, Joseph?
Yes. Yes.
And then Joseph, do you have anything else to share with us today?
I don't think so.
Well, thanks for sharing, Joseph. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And then I don't believe that our sidewalk liaison, Martinez, is here today. And I do think that he and Commissioner Simakonda are planning on providing us with updates at our next week's meeting relative to their duties as liaisons with the sidewalk encroachment liaison and also the police liaison. I believe that's accurate. Okay, Lisa and Stacy Fobar, do you all have any updates to provide us with as staff liaison?
Lisa, would you like to go ahead?
I would. Thank you, Stacy. Hold on just a second. I thought my camera was, there we go. I just wanted to let the commission know that I will be parting ways with the city in a few weeks, and my last participation at one of our CIAL meetings will be for next Wednesday. Stacy Fobar, there we go, will be taking over from here on out, and she will be working with you all to get your agenda together, items on the agenda, and any questions that you have pertaining to the commission. And Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Terrific. As you all know, I'm Stacy Fobar, the Deputy City Clerk for the City of Flagstaff. In the interim, we will be taking the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living and the Commission on Diversity Awareness into the Communications and Civic Engagement Department. I will be handling the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living, and Chris Rohde will be handling the Commission on Diversity Awareness. So thank you all for your patience with me while we take this over, and I look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you for that, Stacy. And at least, Lisa, thank you for your duty for quite a while now. I believe this commission can be kind of a difficult commission at times. So Lisa, I truly appreciate your guidance and your support and our advocacy. I truly do. And
Honestly, Russell, it's been interesting and an enjoyment. And there was a lot of work done with this commission in the 3 years that I was the staff liaison. So I'm proud of what the commission has been able to do in terms of their duties and recommendation and advisory. And as you mentioned earlier, the library project, that's significant. So you all should be very proud of yourself. I mean, it was a beautiful renovation, and the input from this commission made it worthwhile for the entire community, for those that are differently disabled.
and thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that too. Okay, our next work session will be April 17th. But then our next formal meeting, our actual regularly scheduled meeting is a week from today at noon. And then commissioners, do you all have any action items that you want to be sure to see discussed at next week's meetings?
Chair Randall, I do know that we have scheduled for discussion, discussion on therapeutic recreation.
Yes, and that's a discussion that we should be holding like as soon as possible, yes. Because I know some folks on the commission have been waiting for that discussion to happen, and I apologize for that, and I apologize as the chair. I will say, as I listened intently to Stacy Salzberg's presentation, as the chair, I do struggle with time management. Time management is not a strength of mine. And you all can see that even with regards to my facilitation of the meeting, but I am working on it. I absolutely am working on it. And at next week's meeting, we will absolutely have a long discussion about therapeutic recreation possibilities and potential for it in Flagstaff. So are there any other agenda items that commissioners would like to see to be sure to have included in next week's meeting? Okay, I don't see any commissioners' hands up. And then Stacy, you and I are going to talk for a bit after this meeting, just to kind of set the agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay. Seeing no other hands up from the commissioners, I am going to adjourn this meeting at, I believe, 1:01. So thank you folks for your attendance today. It was good to chat.
Thank you, Mr. Randall. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Russ.